Hey guys, can everybody hear me okay? All right, here we go.
Yep.
Our first spring practice. Excited about getting out on the field with the guys tomorrow and getting back to work. There's a lot of things that we need to work on, and I think our guys are really excited to do it. I know they are. So why don't I just open it up for questions and get you guys the information you need.
We can take our first question from Keith Sargent, NJ.com.
Um, had a question regarding your most recent COVID shutdown, but real quick, has the spring game been moved? I haven't seen any announcements yet. Can you just talk about your plans for spring practice?
Sure. We're going to start tomorrow, as you know, and tentatively the spring game is scheduled for Thursday, May 20th. Now, we'll see, as long as there's no further stoppages. That's what we're planning on.
Greg, regarding the stoppage, what's been the last 2 weeks like? What have you been able to accomplish? And then I guess going forward, now that the school is requiring students to have a vaccination if you're enrolled for the 2021 semester, the fall semester, is there a plan in place to get the players vaccinated going forward?
Well, I think, again, our medical people were phenomenal. We got hit a little bit, and when that happens, you need to do what's the responsible thing, and I think our doctors and our trainers were awesome. We navigated through it as well as you can, and we pushed spring practice back for a couple of reasons. One, it's really, really important, and we already missed it our first year. We couldn't afford to have several players missing for spring practice. And number two, our players really didn't, there were some guys who came to me that were desperate. Coach, I need to be able to compete. So that was encouraging to me, that the competition levels are rising and guys understand that, this is a very important time in their careers. So I'm excited about that. I wish, you never do you want to push spring football back past final exams, but that's just where we find ourselves. And since this whole thing started, one thing that we've learned is you just have to be ready to pivot and don't spend too much time worrying about the situation. Spend all your time figuring out what's the best way that you can thrive in that situation, and that's what I feel we're doing right now.
We're going to take our next question from Bobby Darin, 24/7.
Greg, I wanted to ask about the quarterbacks. How is Noah's ankle I know it was lingering into the offseason, and what are your expectations out of that position through spring practice?
Well, Noah is feeling better. He's not 100% yet. It was a pretty serious deal, but I think the quarterback room is in a good place. They got a good chemistry in there. Coach Gleason is, like I am, very excited about watching Evan and Cole and Johnny and Austin and all those guys develop. And certainly with Noah now being in the system for a year, going out and having a chance to work through things again, we continue to grow the offense. So I'm looking forward to it. I think we have a good situation there, and we need to really make sure that's one of our points of emphasis, right, is how do we maximize our quarterback play. And part of that is through spring football.
Chris Eisman with Gannett.
Hey, Greg, I just want to ask about the mid-year enrollees. I mean, how important are these next few weeks for those guys, and what do you want to see from them to know that they're getting everything they need to out of this?
I think it's really important, and not only the mid-year enrollees, but last year's freshmen. They didn't get a spring. If they were mid-year enrollees, they didn't get a training camp. What we got was a couple weeks in the fall, and then we went and played a season. And as you know, the season is all about Saturdays. You got to get ready for that Saturday. That's what I love about spring football. There is no game at the end of the week. So you don't have to work on game plan preparation. You're strictly working on playing the game of football, our offense versus our defense. And to me, that's where you can make some real growth for your younger players. And we have a lot of young players. I like the mix of our team right now is we have some guys with the super senior type deal that occurred because of the NCAA's waiver. We have some older guys, and then we have a huge group of young players. But what comes with that is they don't have a lot of experience. And this spring is a chance for them to get live reps running our offense and running our defense. And I think it's huge. Huge for those incomers, but huge for last year's as well.
Going to go to James Cratch, NJ.com.
Greg, I'm just curious, what do you think about your safety depth? You've got a lot of guys at cornerback. Do you maybe think about moving one of them over to safety? And we've never seen Peyton Powell in a Rutgers uniform. What can he bring to the table, you think, this spring practice and going to the fall?
Well, the safety question is an interesting one. We may make some moves. I have to see, let it play out a little bit. But spring is also a time to experiment, right? So you can slide some guys over and see if they have a natural inclination to play defense. Peyton Powell's playing defensive back. We'll see. He's not totally healthy right now, so we'll see if he is able to go. Then it's a great opportunity for him in the secondary. And I think our secondary is going to be kind of a work in progress. We have some experience. I think Christian Izzian is a guy that we're going to lean on heavily this spring. I don't know how much real contact work he'll do, but he'll get practice time for sure. Trey Avery is a guy that I think really played at a high level last year, and we look for him. We're going to need him to be a consistent performer at a high level for us to play well. Then there's some newcomers that certainly we want to get a look at. So I think we have a chance to be good in the secondary, but I think we're green.
Going to go to Richie Schneiderite with Marvels.
Hey, Greg. So you mentioned experimenting a little bit in spring with position switches. Two noticeable ones, Troy Rainey and Kamar Missouri over to the offensive line. Can you talk about what went into that move?
Well, we just think that's their best position for our football program as well as for their future. So we made that move. Kamar has been there a little longer. Actually, Troy had worked some there and then moved back. He's been kind of a back and forth guy. Troy, they're both really good prospects. We just need to lock them in at a position and let them grow, and that's what we're going to do with the offensive line. But very, very natural benders, guys that are athletic and have big frames.
Steve Politi, NJ.com.
Hey, Greg, can you give us some insights on Art's decision to enter the portal? Were you surprised at the timing and maybe give us a sense of why he went in? And will you add any other players at that position to replace him?
Yeah, Steve. I had several conversations with Art, and I'm very close with Art, and he just felt like he needed a different opportunity. And, we talked through it. And I just hope that he finds what he's looking for because he's a great young man. And although we'll miss him, as I said earlier, I'm excited about our quarterback room and where we are. So just kind of looking forward to it now.
Going to go to Bruce Beck.
No more additions there, just to make you're comfortable with the players you have. You won't add anybody in the portal?
No, we're not going to add anybody in the portal right now. We have Gavin Rupp is coming in as a walk-on freshman in the summer, but that will be the only addition to the room. You guys thought I almost slipped and said a wrong name. I got you.
We're going to go to Bruce Beck, NBC4.
Hey, Greg, you find out a lot about kids during adversity. So when you go through another pause like this, do you like your group? Do you respect your group? Are you proud to lead this group?
I do like our team a lot, Bruce. As I've told you before, they're very, very hardworking, which is kind of a prerequisite to play under this staff, because this staff's a hardworking group. And that's really been from the day we got here. I think we took over a group that knew how to work for sure. I think now what we're into is learning how to work smarter, learning how to figure out, okay, we've done some of this. Again, this is still this is our last new thing together, right, as spring practice. But I think it's a really important last new thing, in that we have to get better. You know, we have an opportunity in front of us, but we have to get better. And I don't mean a little bit. We have to get – there's a lot of work to be done. And that's the best thing about spring practice is you can go and sink your teeth into it, and there's no game on Saturday. So, you know, I encourage these guys, find out how good you are. You know, don't be so worried about, you know, can I do this? Go try. And if you can't, well, then you know that's kind of your limit right now. But go reach. Go try to be a little bit better. And we need to do that as a program. We have to get better, and we have to get better fast. So this spring – that's one of the main reasons as well that we pushed it back as far as we did, because we need to have everybody able to go. That's one thing we needed to have. We need to have a group that's able to go out there and get better.
We'll take a couple more questions. Anthony Fusilli, Rutgers Radio Network.
Greg, how you doing?
Doing well, Fooch. Careful driving now. That's not always the best thing, to drive and do a FaceTime at the same time, Fooch. That could be dangerous.
Oh, Fooch.
What I wanted to ask was, obviously, what Bruce brought up about, you know, the challenges and adversity, and just how you've been able to overcome recruiting right now is crazy, and you've seemed to figure out a way to be successful at it. Can you talk about that as far as your staff?
Well, you know what? I think in all this stuff, as I said earlier, we're trying to thrive, not just survive through this stuff. And, you know, just when you think you're through it, here comes another pause, right? So, again, unfortunately, we've kind of got experience at it now. And, okay, what can we really work on when we're not able to work with the players? And, you know, and that's all we try to do is thrive in the environment that we're put in. And, I think as far as recruiting goes, I think this staff understands that recruiting is a 365-day task. And it doesn't matter if it's 23s, 24s, 22s. You're constantly recruiting every class. And it gets a little confusing. It gets confusing for me because as the head coach, I kind of have every position in every area. And I really have to sit and think, okay, now is this, what class is this? You know, that's not the way it used to be. Years ago, you recruited a class, then you put that class to bed, you start on the next class. As you know, Fooch, now you're recruiting ninth graders, right, and actively recruiting them. And now with June opening up to certain you know, evaluation situations, it's going to be even more hectic. So, life of a college football coach. I've often said coaching in college is really a lifestyle. It's not a job.
Going to go to Chris Nowalski with Rivals.
Hey, Coach. From the end of last season, has there anybody that's really caught your eye, you know, in terms of what they did in the weight room and the games they've made?
You know, I think without singling someone out, Chris, I think the group has made tremendous gains. And I know it. I mean, statistically, you can see it from new personal bests in the weight room, weight gain, lean muscle mass gain. There's some guys that I'm excited to see run our defense and our offense that were on scout teams a year ago, right? We were so quickly forced into game preparation last year that you don't really have the opportunity to see them run our offense and defense where they understand what they're doing. Now, not only did we lift and train, but we were able to meet with our players and review film. And, you know, I think there's going to be guys now that come out there that understand our offense and defense. So I'm excited to see them play. You know, and there's several of them. I mean, we're, like I said, with the exception of some of our super seniors, we're such a young football team that I can't wait. I mean, I'm excited about it, but I also understand that, you know, we have to accelerate the progression. Otherwise, we'll run out of time.
We're going to take our last two questions. We're going to go to James Cratch, NJ.com.
Greg, I'm just curious about Brendan Bordner. When a guy like him switches sides of the ball late in his career, it usually never works out. What has he done to make it work out? To be, you know, he started a couple games last year, and he's going to be able to compete for a job in the spring.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I totally agree with it. It never works out. I mean, we've had some situations where it has in the back half. But you got to remember now, he's still got some eligibility left. Brendan's got, actually, if he chooses to, 2 more years to play. So I'm thinking, when we make the move, if he takes advantage of all those years, it's like really in the old days moving a kid's sophomore year. Does that make sense? So what has he done? He's physically a gifted guy. He was one of the strongest guys on our team when we took over. So that was one thing. And the other thing is sometimes when you move a guy from one position group where he's kind of middle of the pack athletically, you move him from D-line to O-line, all of a sudden he becomes one of the better athletes. And I think that would be the case with Brendan. And I think, like he and I just talked, when was it, last Friday, we were talking about how much more comfortable he is now. Like he never really felt like an O-lineman. He didn't get the spring to do it. He didn't get the summer to do it. Again, he was forced into action, and I don't even remember. It kind of blurs together, but what do we have, like 4 or 5 weeks before we opened the season? I mean, that's hardly enough time to get indoctrinated to playing a position you've never played. So I'm anxious to see him play this spring, because I think I think our whole offensive line can make big strides. But again, I keep saying that, but we need to. Like, it's not like, if we do, that'll be a bonus. We need to make strides in the offensive line. I think Brendan, along with a bunch of others, will.
We're going to go to Keith Sargent, NJ.com, for the final question.
Greg, I don't ever remember a time when you've had every one of your starters back, at least from last season. And then the majority of your team is back as well. Is this unprecedented for you? And then I guess what would be your optimism for that this offense can really take another step forward?
Well, it is nice when you look at it and you say, well, these guys have played, and we have some young guys that are going to push them from behind. So there's competition, yet there's some experience. The flip side to that is we were a 3-6 team. So, unless we get markedly better, that's my job and that's our staff's job. We have to get better. I hope that the experience we had together in our systems last year, and then having an off season to not only go back and look retrospectively, but then to look forward. Okay, how can we help you be a better player in our scheme? And how can we change our scheme if we think you're that good and it's just not a perfect fit? How do we make it a better fit? Those are the things that I'm excited about. But we definitely, I've said it all along, and that's what spring football is all about. We need to make critical, fundamental improvement, which I'm not going to get into all the details of what we as coaches do. But, like, there's things that we did on the offensive line that were just not acceptable, but poor. Right? There were some things we did in the secondary that just weren't good. Same thing. Every position you say, can we get rid of those things and just make that a neutral? It doesn't have to be a strength, but can we make it a neutral? And then the things we are good at, let's kick them to the moon. Let's really do them really well. That's kind of what I'm trying to preach to our staff and to our players. We're not going to be great at everything, nor do we ever think we're going to. But what are we good at? Let's know what we are, and then let's really try to get very good at it, because we have, as you know, Keith, a very challenging schedule. And I tell the players right now we're focused on practice number 1 of spring, but you never ever take it out of your focus. There in the back of your mind is what's coming. Right? Is a huge 12-game schedule that's going to be here in September, and we got to be ready for it. So each one of these steps, we went through phase 1, which was our off-season program, longer than we thought. Phase 2 is spring practice. All right? Then they'll get a little break, and then we'll enter phase 3, which is our summer program. Phase 4 is our, training camp. And then phase 5 is the one that we work so hard for, and that's the season. So we're looking forward to this part right now, phase 2, and we really need to get better at it. Guys, I appreciate you getting on, and I guess we're going to get players for you, and then I'll be back in about a week or so and try to give you some updates, and look forward to when we can be together again and you guys can actually come out to spring practice. But until then, we'll see you in a week. Take care.